Okay. So, so Sherry, just before we get started, I just want to let you know that we're recording this, and do you give your permission for me to record for the purposes of recording your history or the history of Hammond for the library purposes and for documentation of the history?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay. Good. So let's start out just by saying what your name is, your age, and what street you grew up on.
Okay. My name is Cherie Fletcher. It'd be Cherie Williams Fletcher Lagarde.
Okay.
But I was raised up at 1041 Conkey Street. I was born in January 23rd, 1944, so I'm 72 years old.
Okay, 72. Okay, excellent. So, so Sherry, can you tell me, when you grew up in Hammond, did your mother and father were they born there, or did they migrate there from somewhere?
From Arkansas.
Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what actually brought them there? Was it for opportunity?
Oh yeah, yeah. They wanted a better. Well, I had two sisters that were born in Arkansas, but they wanted to come this way for try to make things better.
Okay, okay. So tell me who was in the household at the time.
There was my father, Press Williams. He was born in 1889. My mother, Willa B. Williams, she was born in 1910. And then there was, they raised one of their grandsons. His name was Charles Washington. And then there was my sister Betty, Maxine, my brother Jason, Robert Williams. Then my sister Barbara Hope, who is deceased. And then myself, Sherry. And then the last one was my brother Preston. He too is deceased.
Okay, so Barbara's gone and Preston's gone.
Barbara and
Okay.
Preston.
Right, right. And I assume your mom and dad as well.
Oh yeah, my dad lived to be 100.
Oh, okay.
That's all he wanted to do. So.
Oh, that was his goal.
That was his goal.
His goal.
Yeah, yeah. He asked my husband Jesse, was it his birthday? And so he told him, yeah. He said, you're 100 years old now. He said, that's all I want to know. And my dad he was always, he never got, his mind was always good, I'll say that. He never had like dementia or anything. He was good till the end.
Oh, okay. And so how long did he die after your husband said, hey, your birthday is today, or whatever?
His birthday was December the 13th, and he died January the 21st. I think it was, January 21st.
Okay. Dang, he just he's trying to time that.
Right.
Man, so what did your dad? So basically, there were about 6 people that he raised in that household. Well,
7 with
7 with your mom.
Charles, his grandson.
Okay. And so what did he actually do when he came from Arkansas?
My father was a janitor. He worked at a fencing company. No, was it a fencing company? Or something like that. But then his last job, he was the janitor at the Hammond Police Department.
Okay, the Hammond Police Department. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so now, how did he find? Was raising you guys 7 people on, say, a janitor's income? Did you guys feel that you had an adequate rearing, or was it? Did your mom work too, or did she?
Yeah, my mother did housework, and we might have been poor. Well, I'm sure we were poor, but we never went without. There was always food to eat and clothes, and so.
Right. Okay. And so what kinds of things did he work, say, the night shift or the day
No,
shift? Or?
he would go to work at the police station. Now he would go to the work at the police station at 4 o'clock in the morning, and he
Mm-hmm.
would get off at 12. And then he had some offices that he cleaned downtown. At that time, it was the Metropolitan Life Insurance Company. And so as a matter of fact, he would take some of us, well, he would hardly let me go because I was the youngest, and to help him clean the offices. So he had, and then there was another place he worked, like cleaning. But my dad,
Okay.
I have to say, was a magnificent man. He was wonderful. And my mom,
Okay.
too.
So he worked from 4 to 12, but then he turned right back around and worked, what, say 1 to, to 6
Yeah,
or
he would
something?
work maybe 2 hours at each place, or three at one and 2 at the other. So then he.
Okay. Okay. So that's about the 5 o'clock or so. So,
Right,
and
right.
he would do that like every day.
Oh, yeah, yeah. He never missed work.
Okay. And so what kinds of things, and your mom, while he was at work, she was at work doing her thing, right?
Right. My mother, I said housework, but my mother did the ironing for people. My mother could
Okay.
iron a shirt, and if you looked a week, you would never find a wrinkle. She was just that good. So that's the kind of thing that she did. And, when I stop and think about it, I remember she used to have this, they'd give her a check. And sometime it was like $8. I think the most she made was like 10. And when I look back at it now, I said, well, it kept us going. So they
Right,
managed.
right. It's funny about that time period because, when people ask me, were you born, in the ghetto? And I
Hmm.
said, well, you know what? I think it was all black neighborhood ghetto, but but it didn't feel like a ghetto because we didn't do without, and
Right,
we didn't have a lot, but
right.
it didn't feel like what you would think a ghetto would be today.
Right,
It
right.
wasn't
You're
like that.
exactly right. Yeah, because today they might think, yeah, but back then, nah. If it was like you said, might have been thought of as a ghetto by whites, but I never even thought about a ghetto or living in squalor or nothing like that till I got grown, and I could, hearing people say that I never, because I never knew anybody that, I mean, some people didn't have it even as much as we did, but they managed. It seems like everybody managed. So.
Yes, yes. And then really, because of that time period, if
Mhm.
you didn't have something, it's kind of like the doors were always open at friends and
Right.
family house.
Right.
So no
And the
one did
telephones,
without.
that party line, if somebody was on the phone too long, then you'd have to ask them if you could use it. That was really funny to me.
Oh, no, now what? Explain that? The party line?
We had party lines. You might
Mm-hmm.
have 4 or 5 people on the same line. Now, you would have a different number, but if you picked up the phone to make a call, somebody would be talking, and then, you pick it up again a little while later, and somebody might say, well, I'm on the phone. But
Oh,
it went on, and then pretty soon you
you got used to that. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
So did other people like listen in on conversations
Oh,
and just?
yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. Because I even tried it a few times, So my mother called me.
Oh, okay. Did you hear what Miss Da 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 did? Right. No, I
Oh,
get you.
Lordy.
So now with your mom and dad at work, was
Mhm.
there one kid who was kind of in charge of kind of making sure everything happens?
Yeah,
With kids.
my sister Maxine, she was the second. My sister Betty was the oldest, but um, when she was young, she went to live with my aunt in Kansas City. And,
Okay.
and I don't know, back then people, they let family raise one of your children or something. But anyway,
Mhm.
but when my sister got to be about 12 or 13, I'll never forget that night she called home and, she wanted to come home. And I remember my daddy had said, whenever you want to come home, all you have to do is call. So that's what they did, and then she called. But my sister Maxine, the second one, she was always in charge of, taking you to the park and bossing you around. But it was okay. It was okay.
Okay. And so looking back on where you lived on Field Street.
Conkey.
Sorry, Conkey. And it was right near Brooks' house, right?
Next door.
Next door to Brooks' house. Okay.
Yeah, we were we were 1041 and they were 1047.
1047. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Describe your your neighbors to the left, right, and across the street from you.
Okay.
Unless there were businesses.
It would be to the right of me, neighbors. Okay, that was the Smith family. Aaron Smith.
Okay.
Senior, and his wife, and I remember they had a long house. And then in the back, there was two other like small houses. And one of the houses, apartments or whatever Carl Wilkerson and Ada and their children lived there. And then in back of that was his daughter, Dieta. She lived, and she had quite a few kids. But I'll never forget my dad helped Mr. Smith build a house on his property. It was a nice brick house, and he decided that that's what he wanted to do, so he had, got my dad to help him. And then across the street, there was Miss B. Hildred. I forget her husband's name. Oh, God, that's terrible.
Is B. Hildreth, is that the same Hildreth of, like, David Hildreth, Johnny Hildreth, and all those?
Yeah, she raised Johnny. They raised Johnny Hildreth. They called him Red.
Exactly. He played guitar.
Right. Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and so who was in that household?
As far as I know, it was just her and her husband and Johnny. It was just the three of them.
Okay. And now that was across the street, right?
Right. That would have been 10, I don't know. But then next door to them was,
go ahead.
Was my husband, Jesse Fletcher, and his parents, Otis Fletcher and Mabel, and Otis, Mabel, Alice, and Betsy. Yeah.
Okay, and Betsy. So now this was before you and Jesse.
Oh yeah, at that age we just couldn't stand each other. Oh my God! If anybody had told me I was going to marry him, I don't know. But anyway, it worked out.
It worked out. Okay, so when you grew up, you're being raised. It was what, in the 40s or 50s?
Yeah, I was born in 44.
44. Okay. 44. Okay. So now, when you went to elementary school or K through 6, what school
that
did
was
you go
Maywood.
to?
I went to Maywood.
Okay, you went to Maywood. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and was it? Did you guys? I'm sure at that point you guys, and as far as K, you probably were taking to school. But then did you start walking to school? Did somebody drive you to school, or did you?
Oh yeah,
walk
my
with your
mom.
Friends?
She used to walk because the school was on Fields. Was it Fields or Merrill? I'm so confused. It was on Fields, Merrill, one of the streets. But anyway, it was like right around the corner. It would have only taken me. Yeah, it was on Merrill, and it would have, didn't take that long to.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay. And so describe some of your the people you. Before I go there, after you went to that school, then you went to. Was there a middle school, or did you go straight
No,
to
not in
after?
that. No, you went from K to 8, and then you went to high school.
So you either went You either went to Hammond High or Tech. Where did
Right,
you go?
to Hammond High, and unfortunately I did not graduate, but anyway, I
Okay.
went
Okay. And
for 2 years.
what did you have to just immediately go to work or something? What for what
Oh,
reason?
no, because my parents, well, okay, I was there for like 2 years, almost. I was going to my third year, I think, and I got pregnant. Back in them days, you didn't know about birth control or whatever. But anyway, and then at that time, that's when Jesse became my boyfriend. So,
Okay. So once you went to high school, then you met Jesse, and then he became your boyfriend at the time.
Right.
Okay.
But I mean, I always knew him, I always, because like I said, we grew up across the street from each other.
Okay. But you had to learn to love him, though. You didn't like
Oh,
him at the time.
yeah. And when I did, I did.
Good. Okay.
I sit back and think, oh, well, never mind. Oh, my God. I could write a book about that one.
Well, tell me how you guys got together. What was the scenario?
It had to do with Brooks House. At Brooks House, they had like game nights and nights when they had dances, and they had all kind of things. Like I said, there was a library. But now going back, I remember when I was maybe 5 or 6, maybe even 7, at Christmas time at Brooks House, because Brooks House was a Red Feather organization. I just knew it was that.
What's that mean? What's a Red Feather organization?
That's what I was just going to say. It was probably like it's like maybe like a Boys and Girls Club. Somebody donates, but this was called Red Feather.
Okay, so the definition.
Maybe
of
I'll look that
feather,
up. Yeah,
okay,
it was.
Go ahead.
And they, they helped with kids in the neighborhood and whatever, because, okay, we went to Brooks House, and so then they would have dances, and, the boys could go there and play basketball or whatever. And we went and they had knitting classes and just all kinds of things. Because I remember a friend of mine and we went there for nursery school when my mother first started working, when I was only about 4 or 5. Because they had all of that, and during that time, you didn't have to pay, or if they did, I never knew, But anyway, getting back to Jesse, they was having dances, so on and so forth, and one thing led to another. And
now this is in your sophomore year in high school?
Yeah. Or no, my freshman year.
Freshman year.
Jesse and I got together, I was only 16, I think. 16,
oh, okay.
Something like that. But anyway, so that was the first love of my life, real love of my life.
Okay. All right, excellent. And so who was your first child?
Well, her name was Cheryl Lynn. And, and it's really strange because something happened. I was at a friend's house on Conkey Street, and she was sick. Her name was Myra. She was sick. So I would take I took Cheryl Lynn over there, and my daughter Maxine was my baby. She was, and one day we were over there, and this other friend was there, and she left out the door, and the baby ran out behind her. She didn't see her, so she got killed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But what I was going to say about your mother helped me through that. I'll never forget. Oh. She bought. I don't know, for some reason I was saying that I wanted my baby to have a doll, and so your mother went out and bought this doll. A lot of that part, it's so fuzzy, but I'll never forget that because by that time, my parents were living on Moss Street, 1020 Moss, and I remember your mom coming over there, and I kept saying about this doll for some reason, and she went and bought this doll, and it was in with the baby. I can't tell you how she, because that's just like I don't know, fog to me. I don't remember being at the funeral, but I know I was there. But anyway,
Okay.
that was one of the worst parts of my life.
Oh, I'm sure. So the daughter that passed away, what's her name again?
Her name was Cheryl Lynn.
Her name was Cheryl Lynn, and was
And
she
she was born
hit by a car or something?
Yeah, it was was it a car? It was a truck, I think. And I guess I don't know. The guy said he didn't see her. He said he felt a bump or something. Now this is what I was told, a bump or something, and I don't know. I don't know the rest.
Okay, so she just basically ran out the house and then ran into the street.
Another friend was there, and her husband pulled up on the other side of the street. And so when she went out, I think I was bathing Maxine, not bathing her, getting her dressed or something, because my friend Myra, the housewife, was that she was just really sick. She was pregnant, but she was sick, and she went right out, ran, and I wasn't even aware of it until I heard her scream, the lady scream. But anyway.
Oh, I get you.
So.
Okay, well, and see, Conkey Street was a major thoroughfare.
Oh,
it
yeah,
was just one of the major streets, yeah.
And everything happened on Conkey Street.
Yeah. Give me your recollection of, since you lived on Conkey Street, and you kind of lived near all the activity, or a lot of activity.
Right.
So give me your recollection of Conkey Street and how, some of the buildings, some of the businesses, and.
Okay. Now, going west. On Conkey, there was a drugstore, and for some reason I think their name was Kozlowski or something like that. It was this girl and her mother, this older lady. But anyway, we would go there, and sometimes you go there and get a fountain drink, or it was a drugstore, where you could go get your prescriptions too. And then further down was the Masonic Hall, which used to be a funeral home. And I think that name was Miss Sluey or something like that. But anyway, then after that was Mr. Blackman's pool hall. And then he used to sell Polish sausage and shrimp, because I know you had to go up to the window. I'm pretty... Yeah.
Okay.
You're taking me way back.
So it was a pool hall / hot dog stand.
Okay. Right.
Okay. And what was next to that?
Now that used to be a record shop. It used to be, or a restaurant. That was a restaurant. That's right.
Are you saying the pool hall used to be a restaurant, or?
No. Next door to the pool.
Oh, okay. Next door to the pool.
It used to be. It was a restaurant. That name is on the tip of my tongue. Oh, shoot. But anyway, it didn't last, after a while it was gone. And then it turned into, seemed like to me it turned into a record shop.
Okay.
Or maybe something else. I have to put a question mark there. And then after that, I think right after that was Mr. Cherry's Cleaners.
Okay, next to that was Mr. Cherry's Cleaners. Okay. Mr. Cherry Cleaners. Okay, you know the name of it? What, probably Cherries, right?
Cherries. And then after that there was a grocery store there. Maywood Grocery. I think I'm pretty sure that was the name of it, Maywood Grocery.
Okay, and all this is on one side of the street, right?
Right, all of this is this would be on the, you're going west, so this would be on the north side of the street.
Okay, the north side. And anything next to the grocery store?
There was an alley there, and then there was a house there, I think what was their name? The Stanleys. I think that's where the Stanleys lived.
Okay, the Stanleys.
And if I make no mistake, next to that was Jack's Tavern. I'm trying to think what it was before his tavern.
Jack's Tavern.
Jack Ruffin.
Oh, okay, Jack Ruffin Tavern.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So if if somebody else tells you different, charge it to my head, not my heart, or charge it to my age.
No problem. So the tavern was it called just Jack's or Jack Ruffin's Tavern?
They just called it Jack's as far as I knew.
Okay, Jack's. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And anything next to that?
It was a tavern on the alley, I think.
Okay.
Shoot.
Okay. That's next to the house, Dave Stanley's house?
No, Stanley's, and then yeah, that would have been right. I forget the name of that place. And then you walk down, and there was an alley, and you cross the alley, and there was a building on the corner to the left, but I don't remember what it was.
Corner. Okay. Building. And now we're headed towards Columbia, right? Right.
Mm-hmm. And right across the street, there was a movie theater there. I think it was the Pix, P-I-X, I think.
Oh, okay. So before we go there, that building was the last building, say it reached Columbia Street.
Right. It was an alley. There was an alley, and then you stepped up on the curb, and to the right was a building, but I don't remember what it was. I don't know if it was a store or I can't remember what it was.
Okay. So now let's get back towards your house, towards that drugstore, and let's cross the street now. And
right.
Once we cross the street on the south side,
right.
And
it was a chicken. It was a white man, and he had chickens. You go there and buy them, and I remember my mom wringing their neck. but it was a chicken. Yeah.
Okay. So they sold live chickens.
Yeah.
Okay. And someone else mentioned that place too. I didn't get the name, but they remember that.
Right. And then next to that.
Okay, go ahead.
Next to that was I think by then it was a candy store. Jesse's aunt had that. Her name was Titi, and she had a candy store.
Okay, Titi.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. Is it what, Titi's Candy or something?
Right, yeah. And then there was a barber shop, Porter's.
Okay, Porter's.
Mm-hmm. And now, to continue going on that side of the street, I was trying to think I know, Carl's Vegetable Stand. I think it was next to Porter's. Now, it might have been something in between there.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that's where Rita Harper, Jamie Harper, Elaine Harper. I don't know if that's where their house was, but I know their house was there on Conkey. So I don't know if it was that side of Carl's Vegetable Stand or the other side.
Okay.
But I know that it was all on the same side of the street.
So you just call that Jamie Harper's house?
Miss Rita's house.
Oh,
her name was Rita Carroll, but her children were Harpers.
Okay. Oh, Rita Carroll, and then she married a Harper, and then
right, or she married a Harper and then a Carroll. I don't know, but I know she had. And next door to her was the Lewises, Reverend Lewis. He had a daughter, Marguerite. What's his older son? Because he worked for the post office for years. Dang, I can't think of his name. But it was him and Marguerite. Then there was Gracie, Betty, and Joe Lewis.
Okay, Gracie, Betty, and Joe Lewis.
Mm-hmm. But I forget the oldest. What the heck was his? Because he's still living. He lives in Gary. Because he was a supervisor or something high up in the post office.
Okay, so Reverend Lewis. Now,
Their
he have a
father
church
was
in Hammond?
Reverend. Uh-huh.
Oh,
His
okay,
father was a pastor.
okay.
Their
So
father
he
was a pastor.
okay. So their father was a pastor, but he wasn't a pastor. He just worked at
No,
the post office.
right. He worked at the post office in Gary.
Okay, so you just called him Mr. Lewis instead of Reverend
Right,
Lewis.
right.
Okay.
But I can't figure his name. The other one was Jamie. Okay, I
Okay.
have to think about that.
So you say Mr. Lewis now lives in Gary. He's still
Right,
here.
he's still living. The son, this would be the son that works
Okay,
for the
right.
post office. And I'm trying to think who could tell somebody. If you talk to somebody else, they could probably tell you his name. Probably Paul. Paul would know
Okay,
it.
yeah.
I know his name, but I cannot think of it.
Well, right now I just call him Mr. Lewis. Mr.
Okay.
Post, Mr. Lewis from the post office.
Right, in
Okay,
Gary.
in Gary. Okay.
Right,
And
right.
so next to Reverend Lewis's house is
There was
who?
there was some kind of it was now someplace in there it was called Benny's Beef Burger, but I'm trying to think. Seems like to me, I think it was on that corner because it would have been right at the alley. I don't know what it was what it was first. Oh,
Okay,
I know it
Benny's.
was because the lady
Go
that
ahead.
used to live. Well, anyway, they this man bought it and he sold hamburgers and what have you, and they called it Benny's Beef Burger.
Okay, Benny's Beef Burger. Okay, and
Somebody else know.
okay, no, that's good though. You're drawing a good picture for me. Okay, so the next to Benny's Beef Burger would be what?
The alley.
Okay, the
It was the
alley.
alley. Then you cross the alley, and I forget what those places on. Now one place on Columbia was a cleaners, I know, and there was a furniture store, but I can't remember in what order.
Okay, but on Columbia and Conkey around there was a cleaners
Mm-hmm.
and what else?
Furniture store, and I think it was maybe the shoes were sold in the furniture store. I'm not sure, but anyway, if you headed south on Columbia, well, that was a tavern, Nick's Tavern. Was
Okay, you had a Nick's Tavern.
Yeah, but he was white.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
believe it or not, did anybody mention Charlie Hicks? But
No.
okay, anyway, I was just saying that because blacks didn't go in the tavern part. You could go there and buy liquor, but my husband Jesse and Charlie Hicks was the first blacks that went in there. And then
Okay.
then the guy that owned it, he was really crazy about Jesse because if Jesse didn't have money, he would give it to him or put it on credit or something, and then he would come to our house like on a holiday. He would come to our house. His name was Nick. What was Nick's name? Nick Gasparovich. Gasparovich. Now, how you spell it, I do not know.
Gasparovich.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now that's Polish.
Yep.
Okay. And so was it a situation where because Charlie and Jesse went in, they were, I guess, the first blacks to go in there.
Right, and probably the only one.
Probably. So, but was it relegated just for blacks or just because?
No, it was blacks go in the liquor store part. But then on the other side of the liquor store, in the same building, there was a tavern where you could go. I mean, where you could go there, a bar, where you could go there and sit at the bar.
Okay. And why do you think blacks didn't go in there? Is it just because it was a white establishment, or?
I think it's because evidently, I don't know, for some reason, I don't think he wanted it. And why, for God knows, I don't know why he liked Jesse so well. But Jesse was a likable person. If you talk to anybody, they'll tell you that he was a likable person.
Okay.
But
So Nick didn't. When you say he didn't want it. He didn't
he
want
really
other
didn't.
black.
He, I guess, I don't know if he said it, but nobody ever felt welcome. And I remember on Facebook they were talking about different places and things that was in Hammond, and they named Nick's liquor store, and then they put there, and I don't know if they said, do you know who was the first and only black to go in there, or something like that. Who was the first? Well, I knew it, and a lot of other people knew it. It was Jesse.
So, Charlie and Jesse. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now tell me a little bit about just the activity on Conkey Street, because if you live right there, you saw a lot of good stuff, bad stuff. Give me some of that stuff that was
okay. Like the guys would stand around out there, and there must have been, and they might drink or flirt or what have you. Because Mr. Blackman lived upstairs over that, his establishment, or pool hall, or else it was. But anyway, back then, nobody thought about, I don't guess they thought about, how things are today, shooting anybody or anything. If anybody was mad back in those days, I mean, you had just a good old fist fight.
Right.
I don't remember anybody until way later, killing somebody or getting shot.
Okay.
And they were respectable people. The guys like Clarence Wilbur, my nephew Charles Washington, Russell Riea, Dudal, the Armstrongs. If they were standing out, because everybody used to hang around Brooks' house always, but if there was this lady, her name was Miss Woods. Her name was Fannie Woods, and she used to make ice cream, homemade ice cream, and she'd have it in a wagon. And she could come across. They could be out there shooting dice or what have you. When this lady showed up, the dice went in the pockets. They stood there like soldiers, or I mean, you were shown respect in those days.
Okay. So that's interesting. So Fannie would go down the street.
Yeah, she would come from church or whatever. She'd have this wagon with, she would sell an ice cream, and sometimes they'd buy ice cream. But if they were in the process of shooting, it was time for them to roll them dice. If they looked up and saw her coming, didn't happen.
Okay.
I mean, really. And she belonged to Mount Zion.
Oh, okay. She's a member of Mount Zion, and she made her money on the side by selling ice cream.
Right. But her husband, that's right, her husband on Field Street had a pool hall. What was the name of it? It was Mr. Oh, shoot. See, oh, God, what was his name? I have to think about that.
Okay.
But it was a pool hall on Field Street.
Okay.
And it was her husband.
Okay. What was her husband's name? If you
that's what I can't remember.
Oh, okay.
It was,
I thought you was
I
trying to
think they
remember
called
the name
him
of the pool hall.
Cag Woods. I know her name. She was Mrs. Woods. So I don't know if I know that name. That sounds funny, but it seems like to me it was Cag Woods.
Okay.
But somebody else should know it. Somebody in Hammond should know that man's name.
All right.
But anyway, that was on Field Street, so I jumped over another street.
Okay. So now they would hang out. They would play dice on the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And what kind of other activity? Now there was supposed to be some hotels over there. Were they on Conkey, or were they further down, or
hotel?
You don't remember any hotels?
Oh, unless they're thinking about remember I told you where the drugstore was?
Yes.
On the corner? There was rooms up there. I think they turned that into a hotel, but I can't remember. I don't know who who bought it, or I don't remember who bought
Okay.
it, but it did. It turned into hotels or rooms, basically.
Okay. Okay. Do you remember Peyton Place or
Oh yeah,
Janice?
that was on the south side of the street on Conkey. That was Janice Peyton. It was
Yes.
called Peyton Place.
Okay. And what was that near? Was it near Benny's Beef Burger or?
It was near or was it in the same place? Something used to be there before. I'm trying to think if it was Carl Wilkerson's vegetable stand, or it was something there. And then she bought it, and it
Oh,
was
I see.
right, Janice Payton.
Okay.
And I heard somebody say, and then I remembered that, like if she wanted to go someplace, she would you could go to the back of around the bar and fix your drink and leave your money there. She trusted.
Oh, she had that. She had that. That process.
Right.
That was a good faith scenario.
Right,
Where you just had
right.
to be honest.
And I don't know. I've never heard of anybody that didn't do it.
Well, and then it's not only leaving the money there, but it's not, but not taking the money that was already there.
Right, right. But another thing, the last 2 or 3 years they was having Hammond Day, and this year, 2016, my daughter, who it would be the class of '89 from Hammond High. My daughter does a lot of things for the city. I mean, she works for the city, but she does a lot of things. And I just found out she's 45. I thought she was younger than that. But anyway, she made this T-shirt. She had this T-shirt made. And there's the different places things that was on, in Hammond. So on this T-shirt, she has Brooks House, Collins Records. That was 940 Field Street, Collins Records. And then there was Steve's Pharmacy, but that was down in the 6000 block, I guess, of Columbia. And then there was, Chris's store, but that was a white Pollock man or something. And Dad's Lounge, that was on Columbia.
Dad's Lounge?
Okay. Yeah, it says Dad's Liquors, but it was like a club. People went in there and you party or whatever. And then now the Pit, the Hickory Pit. Now that was Wanda's mother's place.
Okay.
Her and her grandmother.
Okay.
The Hickory Pit.
Okay. And was that on?
That was on Conkey, yeah. And then there was the Culture Club, but now that was on Columbia down.
Was that a club as well?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, for live performance or just like?
Oh no, just for hangout.
Okay.
And what was his name? I forget his name. Then there was Dad's. There was a place. It seemed like to me maybe the Culture Club became Dad's. No. I told you about Dad's already. Dad's Liquor. This place, Culture Club, was. I think this is the one that. Okay, my nephew Charles, the one I was telling you about. He drove a Cadillac, and he always wanted to open a club. So he invested some money, and he was having this place redid, and at first it was called the El Dorado, because he had an El Dorado, and then he was going in with a guy. Maybe somebody's told you his name, Frank Banks. He also had an El Dorado.
Okay.
And it was on Columbia. It was first on the west side. No, the east side of Columbia. But anyway.
So wait a minute, let me get this right. Frank Banks and Charlie,
Charles Washington.
Charles Washington started the El Dorado Club?
Right, and then, but it had, this is the sad part, he was working in it, you know, to get it all ready, and just before it was going to open, he was there one night and closing up, and somebody shot him, killed him.
Oh, Frank or Charlie?
Charles, my nephew.
Oh, okay.
And I was his favorite. That hurt me.
Man.
When I think about it now, it just upsets me. But anyway, they never found out who killed him, and I don't know.
And they killed him right before it opened up.
Yeah.
Oh, and then so Frank pulled out, and then that's when it then became the Culture Club.
Yeah, and then something came open across the street, and Frank opened the club. It was the Culture Club then. I think that's what it was called.
Oh, I see.
It wasn't at first it was going to be the El Dorado.
Okay. Now, was Archie Moore's club around there? You know Archie Moore? He had a thing where Sam and Dave would come there, and some other live performers.
I don't know.
Know about that one? Okay.
And it could have been. I don't know.
Okay. No, I get you.
Well, and then another thing, I knew of all these places, but I was never one. I was my friends. Okay, I had lots when we were all of us that were going to school together. I never, like hung out, went to bars and stuff like that. I never. But anyway, and not that I thought I was better than anybody. Just didn't ever. But anyway,
it never occurred to you that wasn't your thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Then she has a picture on here of Maywood School and Bethany Home. The Bethany's, yeah.
Okay. The Bethany Home, is that the
that
place
was on Highland. That's was on Highland, across from the police station. But I think they've tore that down now.
Okay. What was in essence the Bethany Home? What did they do there?
It was like a daycare and like that,
Okay,
they had a staff and they it's like a preschool for kids.
Okay. Now, were all of these businesses, except for Nick's, all these businesses were black, right?
Right.
Black owned. Okay. Was that including Bethany Home? Of course, Bethany's on Highland and not on.
Right, but it was at first it was white, owned or whatever. At first it used to be a girls' home, like a group home for wayward girls or girls that was in trouble or their parents put them out or something. It used to be that, and then after they closed that part down, then that's when it turned into a daycare.
I get you. Okay. So what did you think about the time where it was, kind of the heyday of black entrepreneurship, where all these black people had businesses, and if you thought of an idea, you can, get a building and then start a company, a bar or a tavern or a stand, a grocery store, or whatever.
And besides the ones that I've told you, it just wasn't that many. And now, I don't know who's left. I don't think it. No. Now they don't have anything.
Right.
Dad's is gone. Everything's gone mostly.
Right. Well, I understand when urban renewal came in, they just tore all those companies down and put homes. So, what do you think that did for the psyche of black people in terms of wanting to start companies and this, that, and the other? And I understand that it was promised that when they tore it down, they were going to rebuild somewhere else, other businesses. That didn't happen. But
it didn't happen because, like, when most of these places, when they paid them off, they didn't give them near, I guess, what they thought. Like all the houses down on Conkey and Fields, and they tore down. They got mostly all those houses, and the people, they didn't get what they thought they should or what they were promised. So, I mean, if I didn't know the different places on like Fields or Conkey or I wouldn't know if I moved here. I would never thought that it was anything different. Somebody new, they come here and they'll think, well, this is just how it is. But the thing that changed Hammond, I think, and I might be wrong, we had a lot of people migrate from Chicago. And it seems that when they start coming in, it seems like everything just started going to pot. There was gangs or I don't know. It was just, I don't know.
And this is in the 2000.
This is now.
2000.
Yeah,
now,
this
okay.
is in, yeah.
Okay. So when did that migration start? Do you remember when that started?
Let me see. Where was I living? Well, I'd say it's been about 15 years or maybe more. Because, like Maywood School isn't in that, it's not on that spot. Maywood School is right across the street from where I live on Cleveland. And Collins Records, it's not there. I don't know. That was on Conkey, so there's some houses or something. And
right. Well, that was in the back of Collins Records was almost in the back of Jesse Bradley's barbershop.
Right.
In that alley.
Right. And nothing is, like Porters or the cleaners or nothing is on Conkey. Nothing, it's just, I don't know. If you didn't live here and know what used to be there, you wouldn't know. You'd think it was.
You wouldn't know that was a major thoroughfare.
Right,
and
right.
It was the lively place of Hammond. Where
yes,
everything
it was. I mean, you didn't live till you got on Conkey Street. Everything.
Right. And so do you remember some of the movers and shakers at the time? So some of the people who wanted some things to happen on a political basis or just when black people needed something. Who were some of those people?
Mr. Jewel Alexander.
Okay.
Now he was one of those, and in later years, McKinley Nuttall, but he came here from East Chicago. But now, Mr. Jewel and J.P. Davis.
Okay.
I'm trying to think Mr. Blackman and Mr. Ruffin. I'll say them, but I can't remember exactly what they...
Mr. Blackman meaning Fran's dad?
Yes,
Okay.
Robert Blackman.
And Mr. Robert Blackman.
Okay. And then Mr. Ruffin, Jack Ruffin. And after that, I things just, I don't know. It's like you don't have, like they would fight for whatever. And now you don't have that, Well, you have the NAACP, but then nobody, there isn't that many blacks that, if it wasn't for people like Leo Harwell and his sister Elaine, Mrs. Burns, it's maybe 10 or 12, in the NAACP. So you don't, I don't know. It's just like all of a sudden things changed. And you know how sometimes, sometimes I look around in Hammond and I say to myself, am I nuts? What has happened? Everything happened. It seems like everything happened so fast. Not that maybe it did, but it's just
so
Hammond will never be the same.
When you say everything happened so fast, you're saying the transition from all the activity to nothing.
Right. And from all these different stores and there was a record shop up in the Columbia Plaza. It was black owned, and it's been gone. First the husband died, and the wife died not long ago, and she was my age. As a matter of fact, it was somebody that we grew up with. But I don't know. Hammond is just
It just changed. So you're saying now if you wanted something done, it's usually what the NAACP that picks up the ball,
Well, sort of. Well, and then not really. Anymore, I think if you want something done, and I tell you who was a major shaker up, and that was Reverend Burns. He would, that pastor was known everywhere, everywhere, and he was a good man. He looked out for people, and a lot of people didn't like Mount Zion. I don't know why, but but anyway, it didn't matter. But
so Reverend Burns and he got together with Blackman and J.P. Davis
oh
and
yeah,
all those guys
and Mr. Alexander,
Jewel.
yeah. If something, but see, during that time, back in those times, it wasn't really a lot of stuff that was going on like that go on now. Because we just didn't have that influx of Chicago people. And I still say that is when things change. Now like Reverend Burns is gone, Mr. Jewell, JP he has dementia, but they were really people that, could get you help or help you. But it's like those days are gone forever.
So if it's not the NAACP, now, does anybody stand out as a mover and shaker or someone who creates change?
I don't think so. I can't, when, I don't know, a lot of people didn't like him, but McKinley Nuttall, he used to be like that, he would go to bat or something, but then people would say, well, he just had his certain people that he would, I don't know. But if something would come up right now, I wouldn't know who to tell you would step up. Now we have a third district councilman, Higgs, but to me, he's just a joke.
Okay.
I don't know. And so I really,
in the sense that he doesn't.
He talks a lot, or talks sometimes, and maybe to hear himself talk, I don't know. But I don't think, I think he would do whoever he wanted to, but I don't think he's for everybody. Maybe I'm wrong, but because I haven't, haven't had to go to him for any, But I don't know. Hammond is just that we don't have those kind of people anymore. We just don't. I cannot, And then, we have, I bet we got, and I might be exaggerating, but I don't. I think we have about 10 black churches around here, and they all stem from Mount Zion. Because if you go to any of them, you'll see the people that used to be at Mount Zion. We have New Community, New Hope, New Salem, 2 or 3 sanctified churches. It's just, and then what used to be St. Mary's, that's a church now. So
I actually went to, that was a Catholic school /
Right,
church.
right.
And I actually went there. So now what is it?
You went there with the Reeses?
Yeah, when I went there, we were there were no other black kids that went there. It's like me and my sister. Then someone probably went after us or maybe before us.
But see, Larry would have been my age, and he went there, and his sister Barbara, Carolyn. So then the ones that would have been after that would have been Lydia.
Oh, okay.
But they all of them went to that school. But now it's a church, a Baptist church. But hadn't been a Catholic church for a long time.
Okay.
But now it's black owned and operated.
Okay. Black owned and operated. I get you. Okay. So now, I guess the people who do stuff now, are there any churches that stand out as kind of movers and shakers of the community?
Not since Reverend Burns left Mount Zion. Now, Reverend Burns was, like I said before, and I don't say it because he was my pastor, but that's our first church was 940 Kenwood. And your grandmother, your grandmother, Miss Lily
McClendon.
Lily, she lived after it was not a church. It used to be two or three apartments or something. But I remember either she lived there or Mr. Bill Williams, one of them. But anyway, Reverend Burns fought to turn that into a senior citizens place, and now that's what it is. It's called Mount Zion Plaza, and it's right on the corner where Mount Zion originally was, 940 Kenwood. And now we're at 1047 Kenwood.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, yeah, that's the big building that it's like a.
Now, when were you here?
Center. Where did I live?
No, when were you here? I know where you lived.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I lived on Conky Street, but the other
Right.
side. I was there about 2 months ago, 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago.
Oh.
But I actually have to come back. Let's see, I think September or something. I'm coming back. So just getting things together, meeting with people, and just basically my dad wants to go fishing too. So
right.
we're doing the whole fishing thing. So the last time I came, I came to specifically go fishing, and he wanted to go to Oklahoma, where he's from, Dow, Oklahoma.
Right.
However, it was tornadoes and carrying on there, and so I suggested that we don't mess around with those tornadoes. So
right.
And so I ended up helping them repipe some of the house and fix up some part of the garage. But we did get a chance to go to LaSalle because he likes to go fishing there.
Right.
So that was closer to the house, and sometimes we go to Wolf Lake, because it's kind of closer to the house too.
Okay. Well, now, now if I would go, let me see. Your dad is on
64th, yeah.
Yes, 64th, and then the next street is Cleveland.
Cleveland, yes.
Okay. There's a big, it was another house, but they tore that house down, and so there's just a big empty lot, and then there's a big yard, a great big yard with a green house on it. Now, that's where my oldest daughter lives, Maxine. I'm trying to think, are you? Oh, that's right, but you went to Catholic school, so you wouldn't know.
Well, after that, we moved shortly after that. I did get a chance. I went to Spohn. Spohn School, and I just, we walked to school, and we walked everywhere. So.
Sure,
but,
we did too, and it was nice then,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It was, except during the winter. But basically, it was, you do what you had to do. But the only thing kept us going was the smell of that Hostess, that cake factory. That was one bright spot as we were walking past that to get to school. It's like, ooh, keep it coming. Now, does anybody, who were any people who actually helped you or mentored you outside of your family? Was there anybody that took you under their wing to help you in any way?
Well, now, no, not really. My parents, because they were older, so that's why I think a lot of things that my friends could do, I couldn't do, because my mother and father just didn't have it. And I was even surprised when, maybe I shouldn't say surprised, but even when I got pregnant, I was like 16, I think. That was my first baby, yeah. And because Jesse lived across the street from us, we were neighbors. I didn't have the kind of parents that, cuss you out. I never heard my father call my mother a liar or vice versa, so they were my role models. And then if I wanted, then as I got older, I worked for the railroad. I worked with Reverend Burns. And and I would go in his department and talk to him. a lot, but other than that, I didn't really feel like I had to go outside of my family really to have somebody to talk to, or I don't know.
Okay.
So to me, it was my parents.
Your parents were your big mentors.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Do you remember any sayings, metaphors or sayings that your parents would tell you that stuck with you? I mean, anything that stands out?
Oh, they always had, see, if I did, didn't have to right now, I could probably think of 100 things.
Oh, yeah, see, the fact
But
that
I
I
know one
asked
thing
you.
my father used to always say. He always told us about money, and he said he always told us, he said, I only went to the 2nd grade, and there's not a day that goes by that I don't have money in my wallet if it ain't but $2. Well, we found out later when he said 2, he meant about 20 or 40. But my dad always had money, and he'd always say, you better put something aside for a rainy day, and but.
No, I get you. Because we know one thing, it's going to rain.
And it's been pouring today.
For sure.
Well, now, tell me
Now,
something about you. Are you married? Do you have children?
I am not. I am not married, and I do not have children, which I regret that. But
Well,
I
I'm
don't.
72, and you can adopt me.
Okay, you're officially adopted. So, but well, we came here to
Mm-hmm.
California, and then I went to school in Los Angeles. I went to San Mateo High School here, which is in the Bay Area. Then I went to UCLA, and then I went to USC.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to American Academy of Dramatic Arts, and then that's how I got into the entertainment industry. And then when Mom got sick, that's when I came back to the Bay Area, and that's
Mm-hmm.
where I am now, taking care of her.
How is she?
She goes through her challenges as far as dialysis and this, that, and the other.
Oh,
So,
God.
well, because while she was in Hammond, she got into a car accident and
Oh,
took her
yeah.
kidney.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I
Um,
remember that.
yeah, and so all this time she's only had one kidney, and
Right.
so and as you know that if you end up with high blood pressure or anything like that,
Mm-hmm.
and you take those blood pressure pills, it actually deteriorates the kidney too.
Mm-hmm.
And so at one point you get renal failure, and then you got to go on dialysis.
Right.
So that's kind of where that is. But she came here to do the HUD, Housing and Urban Development
Right.
thing,
Yeah.
and so she rose to the top of being the first black director for Region 9 or whatever, so female director. So and she retired doing that as I think a GS-15. That's a government rating thing, whatever. But but she had a long career doing that, and she started off at the police department, Hammond Police, and then
Yeah.
and actually there's a place called I think Kirby's Confectionaries with the
Mm-hmm.
ice cream thing, and then it was that's when she was in high school, and then went to I think it was, she said something about well, I think at one point it was the police station,
Right.
and
And then
then
she
it
was
was
worked
Judge
for the judge.
Padola,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, him, and then something with the housing. I think she did
Right.
something with housing there. I'm not sure. And
Yeah,
then
I
that's
think
when
it
she
was
came.
with her. But I remember knowing them all my life, and I remember visiting her, talking to your mom and um, Robbie, and just
Hmm.
because Hammond was that kind of place then, where you could what kind of
Yeah, just talk
talk.
to everybody. It was
Yeah.
like, give me your perspective of takes a village to raise a child and how it relates to Hammond.
Well, now back when I was coming up, the village, it was the village. because like if if somebody had a relative that lived someplace else and they got sick or something, my parents would drive them to wherever it was the person was, so we kind of got used to listening to anybody, because like we would say, we still say, when we were coming up, if we did something wrong, they didn't wait, you were disciplined by whoever. And then when you got home, it was 10 times worse, I guess. Because there was this lady, her name was Miss Dumas. And she, that lady, I always thought, I said, she must hate me. She was if she thought I was doing something, I mean, she would actually whip me. And, and my mother, I get home, and I'm thinking my mama going to be mad at her. Didn't happen. So that's why I say, back in our day, that was the village. Now, you better not say nothing to these kids, or you have to jump on their mamas or something.
Right. No, things have totally changed. Do you think that in the long run, the people who were raised in like your generation, my generation, have more, say, moral and ethical fiber than maybe the current generation, where you can't touch another kid. You kind of can't even holler at them.
Yeah, that's right. I think so. Yeah, because I'm telling you, if you do, then you're going, I don't know.
Right. No, you suffer the consequences.
Right.
Yeah.
So you better keep your dukes up or something.
For sure. Do you remember any of the first, like Ronnie Rowe was like the first black police officer? Do you remember anything in any area, like a nurse or a teacher or anything?
Well, Annie was the first black teacher, and the first black policeman woman. What the heck is her name? That makes me so mad when
Now, was that Gloria?
That's her, Mitchell.
Gloria Mitchell. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And anybody else? Do you remember
Let's see.
anything?
Well, now when Irv left here, he was the first black from from Hammond, and then he was on TV with Musburger.
Right, Brent Musburger. You're talking about Irv Cross.
Irv Cross.
Right.
And then Miss Riley, she had a son, James Riley, that was the movie star.
Uh-huh. Oh, James Riley? Okay.
Uh-huh. He was in something or another.
Okay.
Do you remember him? Oh, no, you wouldn't remember him.
I know of him.
Okay.
So he was the first black actor.
Yeah, and I think
who come from Hammond.
Right. And I can't really think of any wait. Oh, like we have what is his name? James Lewis.
Okay.
When he left
Hammond,
he had some kind of big position at Disney World or something. But since then he's moved on to other, other things. But let me see, James Lewis.
As a was he an architect or what was he?
No, what was he? I think he was over kind of like the business end. I don't remember.
Okay.
But anyway.
So you remember him as being, in terms of corporate America,
right?
He is one that broke ground in corporate America.
And then we have Roland Parrish. He owns,
Okay.
20 or more McDonald's, and he comes back every year to give back to Hammond. You know, he has a scholarship, um,
Okay.
you know, for kids, you know,
Right.
and he gives them, I think it's $2,500 or something, you know.
Okay. Okay. Is that one person reaps the benefit of the 25, or does he spread it out
He
between a
spreads it
number of
out.
people? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So multiple.
Yeah.
Okay.
He does. You know, I think he does a fantastic job. Now, anybody else, I don't know.
Not sure.
I can't
Okay.
think. Yeah.
Okay. Well, are there any, sometimes, people say, well, Hammond had his dark side, this, that, and the other. Are there any, like, stories that you remember? When I say dark side, I remember that there were I don't know, the Red Caps, they had their little gang or whatever they
Oh,
were.
yeah, yeah.
And I think was it the Blackstone Rangers or some other motorcycle group
But I
was
don't
there
think they were
too?
from Hammond.
Oh, they weren't from Hammond? Oh, okay.
I don't think so. I know the Green Beret or whatever, they were from Hammond.
Green Beret or the Red?
Red Beret, yeah, I'm sorry,
Red.
yeah, Red.
Okay.
They were from Hammond. But that was, I guess, about all.
Okay. So that was basically, as far as you remember, all as much a dark side of Hammond that there was.
Right. And then later it was something going on, and I guess they call themselves protecting, kids or something in Hammond. But that was a long time ago too.
Okay.
And the dark side. Now we've had, I guess we've had some killings back in.
Oh, you're talking about recently?
Oh, no, not recently. This would have been way back.
Oh, way back, yeah. Well, I remember Donnie Haskins and, a number of people.
Mm-hmm.
Not a number, but...
Well, Donnie died in the service. Was he in the service?
No, he was on the streets of Hammond.
I'm thinking about that other young man on Cleveland Street. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, in your opinion, did you witness any racism, or did you go outside of the footprint of East Hammond? When I say the footprint, I'm talking more from 164th to Columbia to Calumet to actually 164th to Highland.
Well, I can't really say that when I was younger, a teenager and what have you, that I ran into racism. But now, I mean, if I go to a store now and there's a white person waiting on me and they look, and I'll say to them, "Are you tired?" Then they look at you like you're crazy and say, "Well, are you tired?" I said, "If you're tired, you should go home rather than wait on people with the look on you have on your face." I mean, I don't back down. I don't, if I think something is going on, I don't run back and tell somebody. I tell them. So. Right. But I'll tell them in a minute, you need to go home.
Right.
But
and I guess that's now. But back then it wasn't. You didn't see any, and because blacks were not confined, but relegated to a certain area. They didn't live on the other side of the park and this, that, and the other.
Right. But we had white. We lived around white people, Polish people, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then we had Brooks House, and there was whites there. And if they didn't like us, we didn't know, or we didn't have sense enough to know.
Okay.
It was, But now, you know. Back then, it might have been, but you didn't pay any attention to it. But not now.
Okay. So
like I said, I tell them at 72, I can say what I want to say.
Right. Well, yeah, my mom does too. so, so you're saying at this point it was more racism
Oh,
currently than
than before. If it was before, you didn't know it. You didn't pay it any attention. But not now. You know right away. If
Okay,
somebody, if just like I've been going to the Hammond Clinic for over 50 years.
right.
So they change doctors all the time. So when I go and they've changed a new doctor, the first thing I asked them, I said, are you here till you retire, or are you going to leave? I said, because now I have insurance that will afford me to go to other doctors. I said, but I stay at the Hammond Clinic because all my records are here. But I said, they're my records and I can take them anywhere I want to.
Right.
And so I don't know, I get a lot of respect, though, when I go to the clinic. When I go to the Hammond Clinic. I mean, because they'll say, well, because I'll tell them, I say, who is your boss? I don't mind talking to the guy because I'm paying him.
Right, right. No.
And then now they have these practitioners or something. You go to the doctor, and I tell them, I said, listen, my insurance is paying for a doctor, not a practitioner, that I said, I came here to see him.
Right, right. You want your money's
So
worth.
they probably don't like me, but they don't show it, so I don't care.
Right.
Comes a time in your life where you have to say what you want to. Okay, I'm sorry.
Right. No, for sure. So lastly, let me just ask you this. In your opinion now, were you seeing Hammond evolve from, the heyday of Hammond where businesses were popping and, people, were raising everybody's children and there was respect and everything, and it evolved to something else, whatever it is now. In your opinion, what would make or help the current residents of Hammond, because there's new people who came in,
right.
get the same kind of, I guess, respect and love for Hammond and their citizens, regardless they're from Chicago or Gary or wherever they came from?
I don't think that'll ever happen again, because Hammond has changed so much. I don't think anybody that comes here, and maybe some of the people that live here, you don't have the same feeling or love or respect, because I mean years ago, you knew all your neighbors or what have you, and now it's like, okay, where I live now, 849 Cleveland Street, there's two houses to the right of me. That's the only, and to the left is Maywood School, and across the street and whatever, there's Mexicans around, Mexican family. Not that I have anything against them, because like I say, if I come in or whatever, we speak, and they might say, is everything okay, or and so I don't have any problems with, but it's still not the same. Hammond will never ever, because we've lost the village. We really lost the village.
And then people have gone on to move out of Hammond who were raised in Hammond and took that sense of ownership kind of with them.
Right. And then they say, well, there's nothing in Hammond. Well, yeah, because everybody's left, and there isn't, the people, you used to know all your neighbors on, every street in Hammond, but like I said, my neighbors, I don't even know their name.
Do you think Hammond infusing money into the black community in terms of businesses and starting new businesses would help a new sense of energy with Hammond and kind of spread that entrepreneurship with Hammond? And that's one question. And then with that, if that were to happen, do you think that would generate a new sense of ownership of Hammond, like respecting the new things that they have? And because you talked about a movie theater in Hammond or on Conkey Street at one time, a long time ago.
Columbia.
And yeah, on Columbia. So I mean, and not that you have ownership over bars and stuff like that, but everyone did have ownership and pride over
Right, right,
Brooks House, because
right.
that was a place that everybody loved to go to. But do you think that if there was new companies that people would have more of an ownership now and pride?
I really don't, because everybody, I mean, you have these people, the kids, they're younger, from like 40 and down. See, that's it's a whole new whatever. But
Right.
I don't think that anybody from, I'll say 30 and down, maybe 40, had the love and thing for Hammond that we did. Because you'll hear a lot of kids say, well, there's nothing around here, so we're going to go. Well, that's fine, but, that's fine for some. But
Right.
Hammond to me will never, I don't care what anybody does, you can pour anything you want to in here, but it'll all be like German to me, so to me, it just wouldn't, nothing will ever make Hammond the same, because all
Mm.
the people that were important and the closeness, it's all gone. It's all gone.
Right.
So I don't care. Nothing to me will, you know, I stay in Hammond because I was born here, and I have no desire to go anyplace else and start over again. And when I die, they'll take me up to Concordia next to Jesse, you know.
Okay.
Not much, because I was married to Wanda's dad for 3 years after Jesse died in '03. Yeah, and
Okay.
they were in New Orleans in that hurricane thing. And
Hurricane Katrina?
right,
Mm-hmm.
and see, I always knew them. Because I babysit Wanda and Pop, and but anyway, when he came back, he was sick, and knowing him and him knowing me, then he was in South Bend with Pi, and I used to call to check on him, and then he would call me, and one thing led to another. He ended up in Hammond anyway. So, but he was on dialysis. He was really sick, and I took care of him, because he figured that I would be the one that would, because I've taken care of a lot of people. But then it just ended up in that we got married, but he was sick, and I'm going to say this, and you're much younger than me, but I'm going to still say it. And I used to laugh and say to him, do you think, oh, I'm being recorded, all right.
Uh,
It doesn't matter.
Go
It doesn't
ahead.
matter. I'm 72. I can say what I want. But anyway, nobody's going to hear this part, right?
Right. If you don't want, I can edit this out. Well, go ahead.
Okay. No, what I was going to say, and I only said because I think it's kind of funny, I used to say to him, I said, Nathaniel, do you think that we are legally married because we never consummated our wedding by getting married? Oh, that was terrible. But we used to have a big laugh about that. But anyway,
You
moving
said,
right
but you got the
along.
paperwork. You got the paperwork, though. That's funny.
Right.
So
But
how
anyway.
long did he stay on dialysis?
Well, let's see. He was on dialysis for only maybe 2.5 or 3 years. And I picked him up from dialysis one day, and it was May 7th. And
Mm-hmm.
I picked him up, and he told me he didn't feel good. And so we came home, and he was sitting in his favorite chair, and then he starts throwing up. And so after a while, I said, well, Nathaniel, I'm going to have to take you, take you to the hospital and let him check things out. Well, when I took him there and they did a CAT scan or what have you, and the doctor came out and told me, if he has family anywhere, you better call him in because this man will be gone in 24 hours. I'd like to drop to my knees. I couldn't believe it because he kept we talked and just everything, but that dialysis, I'm telling you.
What did they say was the problem,
They,
or did they say
it
anything?
was, it was, what is it in his stomach? Oh my God. And I just, um, mm. But anyway, whatever it was, the doctor said that, what was it?
It's like an infection or something in his stomach?
It wasn't an infection. It was like a growth or something. And he said that he'd never seen one like that. And I said, well, this man been doing fine. You know, he's been going to dialysis. He never complained. Because he asked me, he said, well, didn't he complain? Didn't he say he was in pain or something? I said, never, never. I said, and I was just so shocked. And Nathaniel, we talked. He talked to me the whole while, all that day. You know, I called his kids and what have you. And so then finally they said it was time to move him up to another room. And they put all this stuff on him. And so they told me to talk to him. We were all his kids. And so I asked him, I said, Nathaniel, do you want them to bust your chest and do whatever they have to do, or do you just want to be comfortable? And he said, I want to be comfortable. And he asked me if they would take that big thing off his face, and they said okay. But I told him to turn those machines off because I didn't want nobody, every minute you're looking up there to see if you see a flat line or what have you. And the strange thing is that, and it was so whatever, but he said to, he thanked me. He said, I want to thank you for the way that you took care of me. He said, and I love you. And honestly, you might think I'm lying. He died it was May the 8th. When Jesse died, it was May 15th. And he said almost the same thing. He told me, he said, I love you, and thank you for taking care of me, the way you did. And I'm thinking, when Nathaniel said this, I'm saying, now is this Jesse coming back?
Well, man,
it was really strange. Because Jesse died May 15th. He died May the 8th. My mother died May the 11th. So May is not a good one. But anyway.
Right.
Well, have I given you anything that you can use?
You have given me a ton of stuff, and I want to really, really thank you because you you built a picture of Hammond, which is great, and everybody has their own perception of what Hammond is and was to everyone, and people remember different things, and people forget different things, and in fact, one thing I really loved is that you went down the street naming businesses and kind of put it in perspective for me, and of what was there, and as a kid I saw stuff, but I didn't know what the hell that was.
Right,
I saw people gambling and all kinds of stuff, but you put it in perspective for me, and and just know that 20, 30, 40 years from now, when students from Hammond High or whatever go into the library to research East Hammond and the blacks, they'll see this transcribed, and so now it's really a good thing because now there's documented evidence of what things were, and the different emotions and the psychology and all the different things that make up black people. Now it's documented, or will be documented.
And that's what I was thinking. I thought about, I said, I'm kind of excited. I said, and I'm so glad then that Wanda gave you my name because I'm thinking, I said, Bobby, he's going to call me. He probably doesn't even know who I am. But anyway. But
no, I
was
asked
thinking,
my mom, and she knew. My mom knew. So,
and I was thinking that my great-grandchildren, they'll have something to look back on, because I have a family that has 5 generations living. So this
is quite special. It's quite special because there's not only the written form, but there's the oral audio form, and the griot kind of thing where blacks would tell their history through audio, pass it down that way. And so for the people who read, they can read the transcript. For the people who don't read, they listen to the audio. So you're actually helping to immortalize yourself as well as the family with the history and all the names and your experiences and stuff. So I really want to thank you on behalf of all the residents of Hammond and the library and this, that, and the other. So it's a good thing. It's only a good thing that you did this.
Okay. But what I was going the last thing I was going to say is I'll get my, I've talked to my daughter, and I told her to go through the city and hall, go everywhere you think they have archives or whatever, and pull out whatever you think has to do with, has to do with Hammond. And so she's going to do that. So hopefully I'm going to have even pictures I can send you, or she can, however you do, I'm not, I can text a little bit, but,
Okay, and you can give her my number too. And
Oh,
just say,
okay.
feel free, and we'll get together. But don't hang up. I want to get your email address and some other stuff. Hold on one
okay.
second.